The right to life is enshrined in the South African Constitution, which through the Bill of Rights entrenches all human rights. But this was not always the case. And on the 15th of February 1995, 11 judges of the Constitutional Court heard the first case on the constitutionality of the death penalty, the matter relating to the S versus Makwanyane case raised important issues about the constitutional guarantees of the right to life. As we continue our commemoration of 30 years of democracy, Nadia Dambuza visits the matter through the case of the Sharpeville Six, who were sentenced to death in 1985.
My feelings are divided, especially what happened while I was in death row. I'm happy I survived, and at the same time I'm sad about what happened there. I saw people being hanged, taken to the gallows, people whom I've made friendship with them. Just imagine, for a period of 3 years in death row, how many people have been hanged. And then what happened in the past, to me, is still green, still fresh. It seems as if it happened yesterday. Those people are still in my mind. I can't divorce myself from the situation.
Duma Kumalo, Mujalifa Sefatsa, Teresa Ramashomola, Reed Mukwena, Opa Deniso, and Francis Don Mukesi, a group of young people who were later to be known as the Sharpeville Six. On September the 3rd, 1984, the Six joined a rent protest in Sharpeville. Unbeknownst to them, it would set off a chain of events where for 3 years, they literally fought for their lives.
You see, 1984 was a very, very busy year. And then for them lousy 5 rand that was increased into a rent. That 5 rand cost most people of Val to be angry. The aim was to take the councillors to their bosses as community. They must lead us in the front, but they couldn't.
Unfortunately, on that fateful day, the then Deputy Mayor Kuzwayo Jacob Dlamini lost his life. In a highly publicized case, they were sentenced to death, but they were not part of the group that returned to the mayor's house and killed him.
The actual perpetrators were never identified to this day. But the Six were said to be, okay, you're part of that crowd, the mob killed him, and therefore you are responsible for the actions of the mob. And that's the first time in South African legal history they actually used the common purpose in such a broad way. You had associated yourself with the crowd in one manner or another, and therefore you were found. This is what the trial judge found, that not one of the Six had actually caused the death of Mr. Dlamini.
I was prepared to be hanged, but they tried to engage me to say, let us take this 35 days to petition the president. What I said to them, I said, we have done everything in our powers through the lawyers. We petitioned the Court of Appeal in Bloemfontein. We made clemency to the state president. So what left now? There is a place called a pot. Before you are going to be hanged, you stay there for 7 days. On the 7th day, then they will come and pick you up and then hang you in that bad manner. On Thursday, the 16th, our lawyers came in Hosimampuru. By then it was called the Pretoria Maximum. They came around past 3 to 4 o'clock to tell me or us to say, you are not going to be hanged on the Friday the 17th. That is where I started to fight with my co-accused, the police and my lawyer.
Can you imagine In the last few days of your execution, they take you to a special place of holding. It's called the bottom cells, or it's called the pot. Almost like if you're going to be in a pot where you're going to be being stewed, you know. And so they keep them there for the last few days. And then, their necks are measured. Their weight is taken to see how, the noose is going to be, what the drop weight is going to be. They put them on the scales, the necks are measured. It is indescribable what they go through.
When I was told I would be released, I didn't even trust them also. I told myself I'll see by them when they release me and being out of jail. Then I will believe them. But all in all, it was very painful.
Their death sentence was dropped after local and international pressure, including their lawyer petitioning the United Nations and the presidents of the United States, the United Kingdom, and Germany.
We were able to show internationally the unjust apartheid system and how they're using this as a political tool to silence opposition, So unfortunately, the South African government used the death penalty in those days as a political tool, starting off for many, many years, including Solomon Mahlangu and others that followed.
Solomon Mahlangu was executed in 1979. In 1990, there was a moratorium on the death penalty, even though some were reported in the homelands. On the 15th of February 1995, 11 judges of the Constitutional Court heard the State versus Makwanyane and Mchunu case, the first since its establishment. The two were convicted on 4 counts of murder, 1 count of attempted murder, and 1 count of robbery with aggravating circumstances. In June of the same year, the court found the death penalty to be unconstitutional. It said it violated constitutional guarantees of the right to life, the right to dignity, and the right to be free from torture and cruel punishment.
The National Party is extremely disappointed at the decision. We believe it is the wrong signal at this stage. It is generally accepted that South Africa has the highest crime and violence rates in the world, and our whole population at this stage is crying for stronger measures, for stronger sentences which will really deter criminals from acting in a criminal way and in a violent way. And this is sending the exactly opposite signal.
We welcome the ruling of the Constitutional Court. It's something that we've stood for a long time, is the abolition of the death penalty. And we really believe that's the only civilized thing that one can do, that society cannot reduce itself to the level of criminals by killing people in cold blood. At the same time, we believe that it is important to send out a strong message to criminals that this does not mean that they are not going to be punished severely for serious offences.
South Africa at the moment has such a high level of crime and violence that the government and the Constitutional Court should be trying to find means of lowering the rate of crime in this country. And instead of doing that, they are making decisions that will cause even the rate of crime to increase.
Nearly 40 years later, Mokoena and the last surviving members of the Sharpeville 6 are yet to heal.
It's devastating. The 6 were in death row for over 3 years. Almost every week, people were being executed. Those who were being condemned and executed would go past their cells, walk past their cells singing, the last. And then imagine that trauma of just thinking, when are you next? When are you next? For over 3 years, almost every other week or every other day, because they would execute like 7 people at a time, right? That in itself was so traumatic. It's not surprising that 3 of the 6 died from illnesses, including heart attacks. You know, the stress and the trauma that it caused is unbelievable.
It was hating me. It was haunting me. It's not easy to forget something like that. You sleep with it, you wake up with it. Even if you can get around, no matter way, it is still there. It is only me who helped myself by talking. By talking. There's no way, there's no any way in South Africa whereby the penalty can be brought back here in South Africa.